This is an empty box. But inside the box was an Elgato Stream Deck. I've had this sitting on my shelf. It's actually on my desk now. I've had this, let's just say too long. And I should have plugged it in sooner, and I should have played around with it sooner and made this video sooner. If you somehow clicked on this video and have no idea what an Elgato Stream Deck is, not a Steam Deck, that is Valve's thing, basically it is a macro pad where each button is an LCD and you can display whatever you want. That could be something useful, or it could be cat girls, whatever you're into. Now, like a lot of really cool hardware out there, the support for it is on Windows and is on Mac. That's all, nothing else. If you're on Linux, it's basically just a glowing paperweight. And it's not just the software, it's the drivers which you need for the device to be working. So, yeah, it's actually useless. However, it's basically just a bunch of buttons and a bunch of displays. Can't be that hard to work out, right? Well, that's exactly what the community did, and this has really good community support. Not just the version that I have, but basically the entire lineup. As of right now, and this may change by the time you see this video, there are 6 projects I would like to mention. Now, not all of them are in a great state, but all of them have been recommended to some extent. Stream Deck Linux GUI, or Stream Deck UI, Boatswain, Open Deck, Stream Controller, and if you're a developer and maybe want to make your own interface or want to do something scriptable, Python Elgato Stream Deck and Rust Elgato Stream Deck. All of these, besides the libraries, because that's mainly for developers, all of these I've seen recommended to the average user. I would say steer clear of a couple of these at least right now. So Stream Deck Linux GUI is actually a fork of another project also called Stream Deck UI. This one also has been archived. It's in it's maintenance mode, technically not archived. It's kind of feature complete. It mostly works, but keep in mind that as things change, it may not continue to work into the future, and it may not work with newer devices. Boatswain is the one that people traditionally recommended quite a bit, and if you go look around, you'll see a lot of forum posts about this, older videos about this, and this is a great piece of software. The only problem is it relies on an older version of the OBS WebSocket, and controlling OBS, like that's the main reason I'm using this device. So for me, as it currently stands, Boatswain is literally unusable. So I would recommend checking out Open Deck and Stream Controller. These are very different projects though. So Open Deck, this actually supports the official Elgato Stream Deck plugins, which is really cool, and probably really against their TOS, but I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. So if you want to have like official support, like VTube Studio integration, things like that, this is a great project to look at. If you instead want to use something that focuses more on the open source community plugins, Stream Controller is the one that I would recommend. Now, I will save Open Deck for a separate video because the one that I've mainly been using is Stream Controller. This does everything that I personally need, and let's see how it works. Here we have Stream Controller. Do note, whichever application you choose to be using, it is also going to act as the driver for the device. So if you're not running the software, it's going to go back to being a paperweight. You don't have to have the window open in the case of Stream Controller though. If we go to the Open Settings and we go to the System section, there is a section here to toggle keep running, and it will just run in the background. Also note that everything you do on the device is going to be mirrored in the software as well. So as you can see, there is a recording light here indicating how long I've been recording for. If I change to another page, it goes straight to that page. There we go. And there we go. Also, if I go and press the button, it makes a smaller version of the icon to indicate that something was pressed. Just keep that in mind. Also, you get to see how short my takes are and how often I make mistakes. Anyway, nothing productive is going to happen here unless we have a page, and by default, no pages are going to exist. Right now, I've got 3 of them for my different things I use in my Stream Deck. If we click this button right here, it's going to give us the option to make a new one. If I click Add New, let's give it a name. I'm going to call it Test. Now, from here, we can go and click on that one, and there's a couple of settings we can go and change. So, by default, it's not going to go and change you to a different page unless you go and manually do so. But you also have the option of having it automatically change based on the window that currently has focus. Now, I don't personally use this, but if that's something you like, go ahead and do so. Also, if you have multiple Stream Decks, you can select which one is going to have that page enabled and which one is going to have that as a default page. If you just have a single Stream Deck like I do, it's automatically going to be on that device. Now that we have a page made, we can go and swap to it, click on that one there, and everything on my device is now gone because we're on a clean page. So the first thing you want to be doing here is adding some sort of action. If we go and click on any of these squares, down the bottom here, I'm going to close that one for now. Down the bottom here, there's going to be an action section. If I click add action, you're not going to see any of this. Instead, it's going to say something like no plugins available. So this application is made to be very, very modular. So modular, in fact, that even the officially supported features are not shipped with the application. You need to go and add a plugin for them. The way we do that is click on add more, and now it brings up the plugin shop. It's not the prettiest plugin shop, I get that, but it is totally functional. Now, different users are going to want to have different plugins available, but every single person should have at least one, that being the Deck plugin. If you go and click on the download icon here, I already have it installed, that will go and download it. Now, this plugin, even if you ignore everything else, because frankly, I don't think most of it is that useful, change page. This is incredibly important. This is how you go and manually change these different pages that you're able to make before. So in this case, I am on the test page, and let's say I want to go back to the podcast page and make sure that's on Stream Deck Original, and that's it. That's all we need to do. Press the button, and now we're here. If we go press this one here, and we don't actually currently have a way to get back to that. So let's add one here, add another change page, and set that to test, set that on my Stream Deck Original, and then I press that button, and now we're back here. And let's say I placed it in the wrong location. I typically like it to be in the bottom right-hand corner. Well, I can just grab it, and then drag it over there. Or I can go cut, copy, paste, all the stuff you want to do, or you could go and remove it. Now for me, the main thing I wanted is OBS control. So in that case, that is going to be the OBS plugin. If we go to the store, it is this one right here. OBS Enhance Your Stream. This is going to let you do basically everything you want to do. Now there's one thing here that has a warning because I don't have a dial on this Stream Deck. There are certain ones that have like a little knob you can turn, and that's cool. I don't have it though. But everything else you want to be doing, whether it's changing scenes, starting recording, ending recording, pause play recording, muting, enabling, disabling things, basically everything you can do through the WebSocket can be done here. At least all the stuff that I think is important. There's nothing obviously missing. Just to make my life considerably less annoying, let's go and add a toggle recording, and there we go. Everything's already working. I was already recording in OBS, and it picked that up, it connected the socket, and it just works now, which is great. Now, do note that it may not necessarily have the correct port number, and there may be a password set in OBS. Over in OBS, if you go to the Tools section and then go to the WebSocket server settings, you will see this window here. This will tell you your server port, and if you have a password, you can either enable or disable authentication here and set it to be whatever you want it to be. And if there's anything connected which you don't realize what it is being connected, in this case, I know that it is my Stream Deck, you can also kick them here. But by default, it should be something like 4455, 4444, something in that range, but it may be slightly different depending on the version of OBS you're using. And happily for us, since I've got it set once, if we go and add a new OBS action, let's say switch scene, it is going to go and remember the settings inside of the plugin so you don't have to deal with it twice. Let's say I want to change over to the patron scene. Sometimes it can be a bit finicky on first connection, like this. And you may need to go and change things manually in OBS once. Okay, it's just not gonna... I literally have it working on the other scene, right? It can be a little finicky on first connection, a little finicky on, like, first opening, things like that. But eventually... it's just not gonna work right now, is it? I literally have it working with the recording. Like, it's obviously connected. This is the joy of community software. Okay, it's good now. Sometimes you might also have to go and change it to a different setting and then change it back to the one you want. And now it does the thing that it's supposed to be doing. Again, community software. Not 100% perfect. Now, another one a lot of people would find value with is the audio control one. So this one we can go and adjust the volume, mute. We also can do dial control if that is a thing you have on your Stream Deck. And in my case, I just want to go and do a, let's say, mute. So if we go and set it to a source, because it's a source, it's a microphone, and let's set it to the MGXU, which is the microphone I'm currently using. So by default, if I go and press the button, it did a little line through it, but it doesn't really tell us which device it is muting. If we go show name, it'll say the name of the device. In my case, I'm going to call it mic. And if we want to see the current volume of the device as well, which is something we can do, I can do show info. Of course, it's going to break for a moment, and some things might have different info that can be shown. In this case, volume or the amount of adjustment. We're not adjusting it by any amount. Volume is the only one that actually makes sense. If I press it again, line goes through it, and then it comes back when I unmute it. But not every action has to do something. Let's say I just want to see something like, I don't know, a clock, because it is literally just an LCD. You can display whatever you want on it. So let's go add action, clocks, and let's do an analog clock. And there we go. Now it just has a clock here, and I'm seeing that on my device. Again, it's just a display. You can put whatever you want. But in a sense, that kind of feels like a waste, right? You just have a button spot being taken up here, and let's say I'm actually using all of these spaces. Well, we can do something with this as well. We can actually add multiple actions to a single button. And here is another plugin you might want to be using, the OS plugin. The OS plugin, this is for just running whatever you want on your operating system. One of the really nice things it can do is just run arbitrary commands. Now, some of these things here might be a little bit funky, right? Like, moving a window probably isn't going to work under Wayland, or isn't going to work consistently under everything, but you can also go and run hotkeys, or you can see CPU usage, which obviously is another one which would probably take up a button. But if you want to go and emulate key presses, this is something you can do here. But let's say I want to go and run a command. So, I don't know, let's say you wanted to open up your calendar, or you wanted to spawn a browser, or something else like that. Just whatever command you need to use, that can be done here. And you can even have it so it runs automatically. So let's say, I don't know, I don't even know what you'd want to have run on a timer. Let's say it's like, you know what? If someone can come up with an answer for that, let's say, you know what? I don't have one. If someone has a good idea, let me know down below. Now, besides those plugins, a lot of them are going to be a lot more situational. Like, the battery usage only really makes sense in the case of a laptop. If you want to emulate a controller, which I don't know why you'd want to use your Stream Deck as a controller, it's something you can do. If you want to have a countdown or a counter, or if you have Elgato key lights, Discord control could be nice. If you don't want to go and mute your mic, you just want to mute yourself inside of Discord. Or for some reason, you want to do your Helldiver stratagems on a Stream Deck. Yes, that is something you can do. Or if you do music production and want direct integration into Ardor, you want your music control, or there's actually a dedicated one here for doing mic mute. Now, some of these you might notice are made by Stream Control, or actually made by the project itself. So this does have community plugins as well, and those are great, and I'm glad people make them. However, if you would also like to go and commission the author to actually go and make a plugin, he does accept commissions over on his Ko-fi, or Ko-fi? I actually don't know how to say it, but I feel like the price he charges is way too low. He has 15 euros here, which is not a lot. Or if you're a developer, or maybe you want to become one, there is also documentation on making your own plugins. These are done in Python, quite a simple language, and there's a lot of plugins that already exist, so learning how to do so shouldn't really be that difficult. Now, let's talk styling, because most actions are going to provide some level of default styling. In the case of the clock itself is an image provided by the plugin. So if we go and click this button here, the clock is now gone. But this one we actually have two separate actions on. So I click the icon down here, now we have a command icon here instead. We can also go and actually use the labels of that thing as well and control where they are placed. Now, in this case, we don't actually have any labels displayed, but this one does. So let's go and get rid of that one. And now we can't see the top text. If we go and get rid of this one, now we can't see the bottom text. Now, you either have the option of controlling the styling for that individual button or modifying the styling of the plugin. Let's say in the case of audio control, I want to modify the style of the plugin. Let's go into that action and go to the asset manager. So here are all of the assets being loaded by that plugin. If we want to go change to a different mute icon, we can load in anything we want. Or you may have noticed earlier, if we go back to the plugin store, oh, we still have that window open. If we go back to the plugin store, we actually have icon sets available as well. So maybe you want to use one of these icons instead of loading something in yourself. And another way to get to the plugin store is going up to open store in the menu here. But I generally am fine with the default styling in most cases. Things like changing the layout, there's no text there. It doesn't tell me what that is going to do. So what I can do instead is apply a label to that individual button. This right here lets us go and set a top, center, and bottom label. Let's set this one to Patreon. And now we just have that text there. Or we have the option of changing the background color. Let's say I want to set it to be something like yellow, and that is a horrible yellow. Or we can change the layout and change where the image is actually being generated or the size of it. Let's set this to 20. And now we have a little tiny thing. Or let's set it to 150. And now it doesn't fit in the button. Under the label options, there are some settings here like the font and the outline color and things like that. And if you want to just use it for a single thing, setting it here makes a lot of sense. If you want everything to be the same though, go into your settings, go to the UI, go to the general. I was on the page, and here we have the default settings. So the font color, the outline width, the outline color, and the font you want to be using. Now, let's say you want to have something like a background being used across everything. Well, that is something else we can do as well. So let's go over to this one so you can see it. We have the option of the page settings or our general global settings. So if we go to page settings, here we can go and override the default deck brightness, the default screensaver, and the default background. So if we go to this one, here is our global settings. So right now it's at 50%. I can turn it way up, and that is horribly too bright. I'm going to put it back to where it was. And you actually have the ability to take the Stream Deck out of its little container here and rotate it if you want to. I don't really do that, so I'm going to leave it as it is. But we can also go and enable a background. So let me just go find an image to use. I promised cat girls, and I delivered cat girls. There you go. Enjoy. It can be anything you want. And as you may have spotted there is also a loop and an FPS counter. So if you want it to be a GIF, it would be very annoying. But you can do that as well. Now, going back to the settings for a second, depends on how you feel about this, but I like to have this enabled, auto start, where when I boot up the system, it automatically starts up the software, so I can just plug in my Stream Deck and everything is good to go. I know some people aren't a big fan of auto start, so it is good that it's something that's easily toggleable here. Also, if you want it to go and work when the screen is actually locked, that is something that can be toggled as well. And that's pretty much everything you need to know. For me, this does everything that I want from a Stream Deck tool. I don't need the VTuber integration stuff. I'm not a VTuber, even though some people want me to be. I don't need all of the other fun things that OpenDeck does. I do think it is really cool, and I do think more people should know about it so they actually know that that is stuff you can do on Linux. But for me, this is good enough. And for a lot of people, I think it's going to be good enough as well. But if you want to see more on that one, keep an eye out for that video because it is a work in progress as well. So, if you have a Stream Deck and you like the video and maybe you learned something, go like the video and do the subscribe and all that fun stuff. And let me know your thoughts down below. If you want to see more stuff like this, I would love to do it. I don't really have a lot of stuff to mess around with like this, but I'm happy to try things out if I could find some possible use for it. So, if you liked the video, go like the video. If you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out my Patreon, subscribe, pay link in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and I still don't like the naming of Steam Deck, which came out after the Stream Deck.